Thank you very much. Here are the lights on the canal, starting at Broad Ripple. So I was at a conference in South Bend a few weeks ago, and I saw the environmental artist Mary Merz speak about her work. And she said, in Indianapolis, they have this canal, and it goes in pipes under the city. And I thought, that is a very strange and wonderful little factoid. You see, I'm not from Indianapolis. In fact, I'm a relative newcomer to Indiana. I live in Fort Wayne. Woo! Now, I've been to the IMA and the new airport and the Children's Museum and the Arts Center. I've even been in a carriage ride downtown. And I've seen the canal from afar, and I've always thought, I need to go check that out. And so I did. And as you residents from Indianapolis can tell better than I can, the history of the canal is far more strange and complicated than that statement suggests. So here's one of my recent pieces. It was funded in part by an Indiana Arts Commission individual artist grant. Thank you all for your contributions. There are 3 motors stuffed in the little red house, and all the parts of it spin around the central axis. I worked with the kids at this school to design it, and I hope it still retains some of the voice of the children. This is kind of a complicated piece, and it's about how life is complicated for little kids. Lots of choices. Did I mention it has a wireless remote control so the kids can play with the model of the little red house, and the big sculpture spins and reacts to how they do what they do. But I don't just do sculptures, I also do live video performances. Here are some stills from a video that will be shown at the Dot and Line Festival in Barcelona next week. And we'll travel to 20 venues around the world. Now, none of the software for creating animations or live videos does just what I want it to do, so I've been making my own software. Lately, I've been looking to combine my sculptures and my software for video and do a more environmental piece. And so I see the announcement for this event and I say, I've got the perfect thing. I'll use the video software to run a grid of LEDs, like kind of a low-res video screen, kind of like this piece by Electroland at the new airport. It uses a grid of lights to show patterns and connections. But I just don't want a plain LED grid. I think, what if I combine this with the networking hardware and software from my recent sculpture and send it floating down the canal? These are floating lantern ceremony in Hawaii. There's others in Asia and Brazil and elsewhere. For me, it's important to run as much of the canal as possible. It'll take 3 events over 3 nights to do just that. The first night we'll put in at Broad Ripple and run to Rocky Ripple here. This nice, quiet residential community by Butler University shows the range of environments that the canal traverses. The canal is this kind of perfect symbol for the complexity of the urban fabric. The second event will pass under the bridge right behind the IMA here, and I'd love to tie it in with an event at the IMA. But I don't want this to be just a one-time performance. I want this to be a pilot for an annual event. It runs the globes. So the software runs the globes. This is the annual Floating Light Parade in Jacksonville, Florida. It also includes fireworks. There are other floating light parades around the country. What's important about all these events is that they are a vital thread in the urban fabric, a reason for people to come out and come together. So here's the River Walk in San Antonio. For Christmas, they had extra lights and in the canal and the trees. Plus, they have a lighted floating parade. Now, part of getting an annual event going is developing a community of people to make it happen. And so to that end, I will conduct 2 hands-on workshops at the Indianapolis Arts Center. The first one will focus on the electronics, including the hardware and soldering demo and having the participants solder some of the circuit boards for the piece. And this will introduce artists and others to this technology, which is becoming a lot more accessible. The second workshop will focus on the software, and participants will experiment with controlling the flotilla of globes using my own custom software. So these workshops will help gather a community of people together, which brings us back to the canal and the pipes under the ground. This spot is sort of the linchpin of the tale. It's at 16th and MLK Street. It's a nice public spot where the canal used to run. Imagine setting up the flotilla in this field. That'll be the start of the third night of the performance. We'll then portage the globes and drop them into the lower canal. This wide spot is near IMOCA. It'd be great to these performance to coincide with something like the First Friday Gallery Walk. So an important part of this performance will be working with people in the community to coordinate and promote the event. And the canal is such a beautiful urban space. To celebrate the canal is to celebrate the complexity of the city, the wonderful hurly-burly of it. It's a symbol of the fabric of the early urban environment. At the end of the canal, we'll take the globes and carry them over the Washington Street Bridge and drop them in the White River for the final stage of their journey. And this project will bring people together and make them more aware of their connections with the urban built environment and the systems on which the natural systems on which it's overlaid. Thank you very much.